I never been so afraid in my life.
This is the story that made me believe that aliens are real, and they are capable of things we can't even imagine. On September 19th, 1961, something happened that completely changed Betty and Barney Hill's lives forever. Betty and Barney were active members of their communities. They fought for civil rights and participated in the NAACP and the United States Commission on Civil Rights. You see, Betty and Barney Hill were an interracial couple at a time when it was uncommon and not widely accepted by society. Betty was a social worker, and her husband was a World War II vet and a mailman. All of this is to say, they were actually pillars of the community. On that fateful night in September, they were on their way back home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire from a vacation to the Niagara Falls. Betty saw what looked like a shooting star, but it was moving backwards. It moved closer and brighter, and Betty asked Barney to pull over so they could take a better look at it. They watched it through binoculars and realized they were looking at a saucer-shaped spaceship with flashing lights. They got in the car and continued chasing it down until it finally flew towards them, causing Barney to stop the car on the highway. This is where it gets weird, so weird that I fully believe that it's true. The figure communicated psychically with Barney, telling him to stay where he was and keep watching.
Just keep looking.
Could you hear each other?
Oh, I gotta pull these binoculars away from my eyes. Because if I don't, I'll just keep staying there.
Could you hear him tell you this?
Oh, no, he didn't say it.
You felt he said it.
I know.
You know he said
Just there, yeah. Just stay there, he's saying to me.
They made it home in the morning, and a drive that should have taken 4 hours ended up taking 7. That's when they started to behave in unusual ways. Betty insisted on keeping her luggage by the door, but didn't have a good reason why. Barney felt the need to examine his genitals, but found nothing unusual. Their watches were no longer working, for no apparent reason. Betty's nice shoes were scuffed. The band on their binoculars was broken. They had no recollection of any of this happening. They decided to draw pictures of everything they could remember seeing, and tried to recollect the sequence of events from that night, but could remember nothing between seeing the ship and arriving at home. After getting some rest, Betty awoke and began unpacking her luggage. She noticed that her dress was irreparably damaged and had a strange pink powder on it. In the back of their car, they found shiny, concentric circles. They discovered that when they placed a compass near it, the needle would spin uncontrollably. The Hills reported all the info they could recall to the United States Air Force. Then, Betty began having bizarre, vivid dreams.
Holding it up and down and run, God! It says my God, give me strength. I gotta get away. Oh!
After the encounter, Betty began having vivid dreams for 5 consecutive nights. In one of the dreams, she was forced by 2 small men with gray skin to walk through a forest. She turned and saw her husband walking behind her, but when she called out to him, he didn't respond, as if he was sleepwalking or in a trance. They both remembered very little of their drive home, so they decided that to recover their missing time, they would undergo hypnosis. What occurred in their sessions was truly chilling.
His eyes. I've never seen his eyes before.
But you said they were friendly.
Barney was hesitant about the whole thing, but Betty eventually convinced him. In Barney's hypnosis sessions, he said,
God, I'm scared.
It's all right. You can go right on, experience it. It will not hurt you now.
I gotta get my gun. I gotta get my gun!
All right. All right, that's all.
I gotta get my gun!
Go to sleep, Steve. Get now.
Oh, Lord.
He also recalled having to undergo medical examinations. Betty recalled communicating with the leader of the aliens in English, while Barney recalled that the conversation had occurred in a language he'd never heard before. Betty and Barney's sessions were all consistent with each other. Betty recalled her dreams, with only a few details changing while under hypnosis.
Behind me, and then there's Barney, and there's a man on each side of him. And my eyes are open. My body's still asleep. He's walking and he's asleep.
Betty and Barney Hill never sought to publish any books or movies on what they experienced. They never tried to get publicity. They just decided to return to their normal lives. Barney passed away in 1969 from a cerebral hemorrhage. Betty passed away in 2004 from cancer at the age of 85. She never remarried. What I find the most fascinating about this case is that it seems like the majority of the communication with the extraterrestrials was happening psychically. Like the aliens don't even have to know English. They can talk to you in your brain. And that's messed up. But that's the case of Betty and Barney Hill, my favorite alien abduction case.